Okay, so my husband was born in 1974. And before you go anywhere with that, yes, he is in his 50s. And yes, the sex is good, really good. Better, honestly, than anything I experience with men half his age. And today I'm going to tell you exactly why. Because it is not luck, and it is not magic. It is a set of very specific things I figured out about him, about his body, about what actually works, and a set of things I flat out do not allow anymore. And when I say do not allow, I mean I stopped them, redirected them, replaced them with something that actually works for both of us. And the difference between what we have now and what we had before I got intentional about this is not subtle. I am Valerie Hayes, sex therapist based right here in the US. And if you're a man in your 50s or 60s who wants to know how to genuinely show up for a woman, this channel is built specifically for you. Hit subscribe, join the tribe. This is what I do every week, and you do not want to miss what is coming. Alright, let's get into it. Now, the first thing I never allow my husband to do, go long, and I know exactly what just happened in your head. You thought, wait, she is a sex therapist and she is telling her husband not to go long? Yes, that is exactly what I'm telling you. And I need you to hear the whole thing before you dismiss it. My husband does not need to go for 45 minutes for me to have the best sex of my life. He genuinely does not. And the years when he thought he did, when he was grinding away trying to prove something to both of us, were honestly some of the least satisfying encounters we had, because his body was not built for a 45-minute marathon anymore. He was working against himself, and I was lying there waiting for him to figure that out. You see, here is what most men in their 50s do not know about their own bodies. The nerve endings, the stamina, the recovery, all of it changes in your 50s and 60s. And that is not a failure. That is just biology. But the mistake is trying to perform like you are 30 when you are 54. Because what your body actually does well at 54 is completely different from what it does well at 30. And if you lean into what it does well now, instead of fighting to recreate something that is gone, what you find is genuinely better. My husband at 30 could go long. My husband at 54 can go deep, and deep, in every sense of that word, is more. So I stopped letting him chase direction, and here is what I put in its place. I give him direction, real time, in the moment, completely honest direction, and this changed everything in our bedroom. Because here's the thing about men. They spend their entire adult lives guessing. They guess what she likes. They guess what is working. They guess whether to keep going or switch. And most of them are guessing wrong for years before they eventually land on something by accident and think they figured it out. My husband does not guess because I tell him. And I do not mean a conversation the next morning. I mean right now, in the moment, while it is happening. A hand that guides his. A shift of my hips that redirects where he is focused. A quiet word that tells him, there, slower, stay there. And when something is really working, I tell him that too, clearly, so he knows. You see, most women have been trained to be quiet in bed, to perform their enjoyment without direction, to let him do what he is doing and hope something lands. And most men have been trained to interpret that silence as either approval or mystery. It is neither. It is a woman who was never told it was okay to say what she needs. I told myself it was okay. And the moment I started directing, instead of hoping, the encounters changed completely. He stopped guessing. I stopped waiting. We stopped performing for each other and started actually being there together. Now let me tell you what that direction sounds like in practice, because this is where men get nervous and think it is going to feel like criticism. It is the opposite. Direction during sex is not feedback. It is participation. When she moves your hand to the right spot and says yes, right there, she is not telling you that you were wrong. She is telling you that she is paying attention and she wants you to pay attention too. She is inviting you in rather than shutting you out. And for a man who has spent years guessing and hoping he was getting it right, having her actually tell him is a relief. Not a blow to the ego, a relief. So if your woman is quiet, if she gives you nothing to work with and you are navigating in the dark, that is worth addressing directly, not accusatorially, just honestly. Ask her what feels good. Tell her you want to know. Tell her she will not hurt your feelings and mean it, because the moment she starts telling you, everything changes. All right? Now here is something I never expected to matter as much as it does, and it connects directly to the direction piece. My husband used to think he needed to figure it all out on his own. That asking was somehow admitting something. And the positions he chose, oh my goodness, the positions, told me everything about what he thought sex was supposed to look like. The second thing I never allow, positions that wreck him. And this might sound like I am looking out for him. I am. But I am also looking out for me, because a man who is straining his back, aching his knees, propping himself up on wrists that are starting to shake, that man is not present. He is managing pain. And a man managing pain is not a man paying attention to me. There are positions that men in their 50s and 60s simply should not be in for extended periods. Deep push-up style missionary with the full weight on your wrists. Standing positions that require sustained balance and a lower back. That is not what it was at 30. Anything that has him folded or twisted in a way that is going to have him reaching for the heating pad afterward. And the funny thing is, the positions I replace those with are better for me anyway. Me on top completely. My pace, my angle, my depth, my control. And what he gets to do is be fully present when his hands are free, his back is not loaded. He is not working against physics. He is there, warm and present, hands on my waist or my hips or running up my back, while I do exactly what works for me at the pace that works for me. And the difference in his presence, in how fully he is actually there with me versus managing his own physical struggle, is enormous. You see pillow under the hips in missionary. That one adjustment takes the pressure off his lower back completely, changes the angle in a way that works better for both of us, and keeps him able to stay in the encounter without counting down to when he can stop. Sideline positions, both facing the same direction or facing each other, almost zero physical strain, deep connection, his hands completely free to be everywhere. These are the positions most couples in their 50s and 60s discover eventually, and then wonder why they did not get here sooner. The goal is never the position that looks impressive. The goal is the position that keeps both bodies present, comfortable, and free to actually feel what is happening. And when his body is not fighting itself, he shows up in a way that produces something I genuinely cannot get from a man who is 28 and trying to prove something. Now, here is the thing about all of this that took me the longest to figure out. And it is the piece I think most couples in the US are missing entirely. For years I thought about sex as something he was doing to me. or for me. And even when it was good, there is something slightly passive about my role in it. I was receiving, he was performing. And that dynamic, however pleasantly it sometimes ended, was keeping us from something far better. The third thing I never allow: one-sided sex. I work on him too, actively, consistently, in the middle of it, not just before. And this changed the entire quality of what we have together. Here is what I mean. Most sexual encounters have a giver and a receiver. He is doing things, she is experiencing them, and then there is a transition. His turn, her turn, or an ending without her getting hers. And the whole encounter has this asymmetry to it that keeps it from being what it could be. What I do instead is stay active throughout. While he is working on me, my hands are working on him. I am paying attention to his body the same way he is paying attention to mine. I know where he is responsive. Instead, I know what accelerates things and what sustains things. I know when he needs to feel more of me, and I give him that in real time. And what that does to the encounter is transform it from performance into something mutual. He is not performing for my enjoyment, and I am not passively receiving. We are both in it, both giving, both receiving simultaneously. And the energy that creates the feeling of two people equally present and equally engaged is something I cannot manufacture any other way. You see, when he feels me responding to him while he is responding to me, when it is genuinely two-way in the middle of the encounter, not just at the beginning and end, his engagement shifts. He is not managing his performance anymore. He is feeling. And a man who is actually feeling rather than performing gives you something completely different. There is also something specific that happens for men in their 50s when they feel genuinely desired rather than tolerated. When they feel a woman who is actively engaged with their body rather than waiting for theirs to do something. It does something to the confidence, to the presence, to the physical response that no amount of his own effort produces by itself. I am an active participant. Always. And that one shift from receiving to participating is the single biggest change I made that transformed what we have. All right, now here is one more layer to the mutual piece. And this is where it gets really interesting, because being active is one thing. But what you say while you are being active, that is a whole separate power. Or the fourth thing I never allow: silence. And I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by this, because I am not talking about screaming from the rooftops. I am talking about the specific kind of silence that most couples fall into, where both people are working hard and saying nothing, and the encounter becomes this private parallel experience where two people are in the same bed and somehow not quite together. No pretense, no performing. If something is not working, I say so. Gently in the moment, redirecting rather than criticizing. If something is working, I say that louder, clearly enough that he knows, clearly enough that he files it away and comes back to it. And the dirty talk, okay. I know that phrase makes some people nervous, but what I am actually talking about is simpler than what that phrase implies. It is just staying verbal, staying connected through sound and words throughout the encounter, rather than going quiet and private. You see, when he is quiet and I am quiet, we are both in our own heads. We are managing our own experiences. The sex is happening, but the connection is reduced to physical. And physical alone, even when it is technically good, does not produce what the combination of physical and verbal does. When I tell him what I am feeling, when I tell him what I want, when I use words to stay present with him rather than retreating into private experience, the quality of the encounter changes completely, because now both of our nervous systems are engaged. We are both hearing each other. We are both responding to each other in real time in multiple dimensions at once. And here is something specific about men in their 50s that I have noticed from both my professional practice and my own marriage. They respond to being spoken to during sex more powerfully than younger men, because they have enough experience to know the difference between a woman who is present and a woman who is performing. And when she is clearly present, clearly talking to him, clearly responding to him, clearly in it with him rather than beside him, something in him unlocks that younger men do not even have access to yet. Tell him what feels good. Tell him what you want him to do. Tell him when he finds something that works. Be specific, be real. No script, no performance, just honest, present, in the moment communication. And encourage him to do the same. Because most men have been silent in bed their entire lives because nobody told them that their voice was welcome there. Give him permission. Ask him what feels good. Ask him what he wants. And watch what that permission does to how present he becomes. Now, there is one more thing I want to talk about. And it is the one that ties all of this together, because everything I've described, the direction, the positions, the mutual engagement, the communication, all of it rests on a foundation that most couples in the US have never explicitly built. The fifth thing I never allow: guesswork. And by that I mean the whole culture of assuming, of hoping the other person figures it out, of keeping your preferences private and hoping they are somehow intuited, of performing satisfaction so nobody has to have an uncomfortable conversation. My husband knows my body, specifically, precisely. He knows it because I told him. Over time, through real conversations and real-time direction, and the willingness to actually talk about what works and what does not, he built a map, and now he uses it, and I know his body the same way, his responses, what he needs from me depending on where he is that day, whether it is a slow evening or a shorter, more focused one, whether he needs to feel desired or whether he needs to feel like he is leading. I pay attention. I adjust. I show up for what he actually needs rather than what I assume he needs. You see, this level of knowing does not happen by accident. It happens because both people decide it is worth building. Because both people choose to have the conversations that most couples avoid. Because both people choose to be honest about their bodies, their responses, their needs, and to trust each other with that honesty. And for men in their 50s and 60s, men whose bodies have genuinely changed, who have different stamina and different responses and different needs than they did at 30. This kind of mutual knowing is not optional. It is what makes sex at this stage of life extraordinary rather than merely functional. My husband does not need to pretend his body is what it was at 30, and I do not need him to. What I need is for him to know what his body actually does well now, and to bring that to me fully. The depth of presence, the patience, the confidence that comes from decades of actually understanding a woman rather than fumbling toward her. The willingness to be directed and to follow that direction without ego. Those are not consolation prizes for getting older. Those are the actual advantages. And the men who figure that out, who stop fighting their age and start leveraging what it gives them, are the men who produce experiences that men half their age genuinely cannot replicate. And here is the thing I want women watching this to hear too. You have more power to shape what happens in your bedroom than you have probably ever used. The direction, the communication, the mutual engagement, the honesty about positions and pace and what actually works. All of that is yours to bring. Your pleasure is not something he is solely responsible for delivering. It is something you participate in creating. When I stopped waiting for my husband to figure it out and started being an active co-creator of what we have, everything changed. For both of us. He stopped guessing. I stopped hoping. We stopped performing and started actually being there together. Now, let me bring all of this together. I do not allow him to go long, because long is not what my body needs, and it is not what his body is built for anymore. What I put in its place is direction, real, honest, in-the-moment guidance. That means he never has to guess, and I never have to hope. I do not allow positions that load his back or his knees or take him out of presence. Because a man who is managing pain is not a man who is with me. What I put in its place are positions that keep him comfortable, keep his hands free, and keep him fully there. I do not allow one-sided sex. I work on him while he works on me. I stay active, I stay engaged. Because the energy of two people equally present and equally giving is something that passive receiving never creates. I do not allow silence. I stay verbal. I tell him what is working. I tell him what I want. I encourage him to do the same. Because two people going quiet in their own heads is two people having sex separately rather than together. And I do not allow guesswork. We know each other's bodies. We built that knowing intentionally through real conversations and honest direction and the willingness to actually talk about what works. And we keep building it. That is what I never allow. And what I have in its place is better than anything I had in my 20s, my 30s, or my 40s. Because all of this, the communication, the knowing, the mutual engagement, the confidence, these things build. They compound. They get better the longer you invest in them. The best sex of my life is not behind me, and it is not behind you either. If you want the explicit version of everything I just described, the specific direction, the specific communication, how all of this plays out in real detail, join Valerie Uncensored, my private newsletter, explicit, specific, completely unfiltered. Link is in the description. I am Valerie Hayes. I will see you in the next one.